Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Employer Brand Breakdown, where we are not live. I am very sorry we're having some technical issues, but I wanted to get this thing done. My biggest challenge is because it's not live. I'm very tempted to stop when I misspeak or say something silly or there's something that changes and I have to go futz with it. I have to pretend this is live because that's just the fun. We're going to talk about a British biotech company, emerging biotech, 500 people-ish, Exscientia, which when they talk about it in a British accent sounds to my ear like Accenture, which I have to kind of switch out of my head. We're going to look at what they're doing on their career site and on their job postings. We haven't talked much about job postings on this series as of yet, mostly talking about LinkedIn stuff. So we're going to skip LinkedIn on that company for today. If you're into employer brand or you're into biotech, which is probably why you're watching this right now, check out it's biotechrecruiting.email. It is a very simple limited edition newsletter. It's just 5 emails to help you deliver some techniques, some tricks, some templates to help you recruit better. Just making your life a little easier. Just go to biotechrecruiting.email. Should be right there. All free. Enjoy. Tell a friend. Let people know. If you're in biotech, let other people know. All right. So we're diving in. Remember, I have no insider knowledge about this company. I don't actually know anybody at this company, I don't think. It's an interesting company. It's definitely in the biotech sector. It's talked about like a number of others, but it's doing some pretty cool stuff. I just have no insider knowledge. Remember, the reason we do this is because as a candidate, the candidate probably has no insider knowledge. How they're absorbing and what they're learning about your company is based on what you're projecting publicly, which is all I'm looking at. So really the employer brand breakdown works in the same way that a candidate learns about your employer brand. So you can see here, it's a nice clean page. First off, points for not going full blue. Again, I don't know what it is with pharma and biotech. They love the color blue. Got to have blue everywhere. This is a more white plus orange black situation. Call it Halloween colors if you want. I wouldn't say it that way, but it is October, so what can you do? It's got a nice, strong orange pop. And as someone who likes the color orange, there you go. Personal bias. There we are. So we start off, we've got this is the corporate page. It's got this interesting tree. It's Darwin's tree of knowledge. And it's kind of interesting. They've got these little kind of tidbits to kind of say, hey, there's more information behind the scenes. There's more than what is just being shown, which I think is a nice kind of indication of depth of thinking. Right. Most biotechs, those names are hard to remember. They don't always correlate to anything in particular. Here they're trying to show what they're thinking, right? That which is really interesting in a company that hires thinkers. We scroll down. We've got better drugs faster, which is their kind of focus. Again, that's every pharmaceutical, pharma tech, biotech, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's working towards better drugs faster. So not a lot there. World's first, interesting stuff showing off. Cool stuff they're doing. Clinical impact, the standard stuff you expect. I will say what's interesting is that there's a lot more human faces on the corporate site. A lot of companies, it's just the molecules and the genes and the DNA and all the sciencey stuff, but not so much the people doing the science. And you can see here, they're leading off with a video of people doing some science, but also just hanging around and talking, presumably about science, of course, but very people focused, which is an interesting twist on the corporate site. You'd expect to see this on the career site. So interesting touch. A couple things I noticed. You've got revolutionizing drug discovery, faster by design, better by design. Okay. A lot of design language. Interesting. Drug discovery is a learning challenge. Now here's something interesting, something telling. I like the language they have here. Drug discovery is a learning challenge. They're effectively reframing from, hey, it's not a brute force, take as many compounds and smack them into as many tests as you can. We're learning. This is a project of learning. And to talk about it in the corporate page is really unusual. I think it's worth calling out. I also think it's unfortunate that it doesn't come into play in the career site. I think it's a missed opportunity. I think if you're going to talk about it in those terms, which I think is interesting, it's going to be very attractive to people either in academic settings who are expecting to learn, where that work is discovery as a function of learning, but also people who've been in corporate or commercial biotech, pharmaceuticals, where, especially in big pharma, there's a question around how much politics it takes to get things done. Here they're focusing on everything as a learning challenge. It's a much more attractive play. It's a much more attractive call to talent, especially. Like I said, it's interesting. It's on the corporate site. We scroll down, patient first. Sure, you expect that stuff. And here we are at careers. So let's go look. Again, more faces, always nice. So we hit the career site and we get this, help build a new way to discover life-giving medicines. Okay, pretty standard call to action. Not bad, not good, but not, it's not like different or differentiating. It's standard. It's solid. How's that? It's a good B-, right? It's on top of this rotating video that you're seeing, which confuses me because it's people getting coffee or drinks, but I mean, literally shots of espresso, whatever those espresso group heads, whatever in the thing, I don't know. People walking into the refrigerator, not to get medicine or compounds, but to get a drink. It's a strange, surprising way to start the career page. I'm just going to say that. I also know that having gone through this page, it also is the first 10, 15 seconds of a larger video, which comes into play a little farther down on the page. But to say, hey, let's put a video, some motion graphics, that everybody likes motion graphics, sure, good play. To choose this seems strange. Not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's like, oh, that's gross, it's horrible, it's going to kill your engagement. I'm just saying you could say anything. You could show anything. Why this? I'd love to know the thinking behind it. It doesn't click for me, right? It doesn't say anything to me. It feels like it's motion for the sake of motion. It's graphics for the sake of graphics instead of the opportunity to tell a specific story. Okay, so then we go down here. You're on 1, 2, 3 continents. That's cool. 20 countries, 7 global offices, showing a footprint. Even though they're primarily British, they are across. They have a pretty big global footprint. And I am always partial to these dots. This map of dots, I like it a lot. That's, again, just me. They throb, if that's the right, like woo, but they're not clickable. So nice, cute, but it's helping me understand the scope. Especially for a company that's only a couple hundred in a biotech, it's good to know that it isn't just in one location or 2 locations, but it is in fact a global footprint. Find your team from AI tech to drug hunting and the latest lab techniques. Why lab is capitalized, I'm not sure. Maybe that's a British thing. Couldn't tell you. I know, what's the joke? 2 countries separated by a common language, right? That's the joke, Americans and English. So that's interesting. I mean, I get why they're highlighting the orange. It just isn't saying much. Find your team. Okay, but this is an opportunity to sell me a little bit, to give me a reason to click. Right now, all the reason to click has been on the corporate side, not here, right? Let's go back to the top. All we've learned is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 words. Let's call that another 6 words. So that's 17 words, a map, and then 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31 words on their career site of any kind of meaning whatsoever, and then jobs. This is not how you're going to compete. There's good content on the corporate side. How do we pull that into the landing page for careers? Because you can't guarantee that everybody's going to come in through the corporate page. Sure, their analytics are going to show 10, 15, 20% are going to come that way. But what about the remaining 80%? That's a challenge. And that's why a career site needs to have more content in this. You don't have to put a book. You don't have to put a full 2-hour movie into it. But all their content ends up being jobs and videos. So here we go, down past the jobs, which I bet analytics will show most people don't scroll that far, or at least a small fraction do. Life of Exscientia, hear from our team about the experience of working with us, and then we make the video. And then I'm not going to play the sound, but you'll see it starts off by people having the coffee, and it's primarily, this is the footage that turned into that kind of rotating hero image stuff. People walking around, love that it's featuring women in STEM, always a good signal that you are more inclusive, that you're more open to more viewpoints, more ideas, more backgrounds. You don't have to be a woman to work here, but showing women predominantly sends the signal that that's interesting, that you're willing to engage with that stuff, that you want people from places that aren't classically STEM people, right? If we think of that as white dudes, right? So showing a less common audience is a great signal. The video is captured gorgeously, people doing work. Once we get past the people having coffee, they're doing the work. The video is fine. It's really good. I like that they did spell out a lot of text on the bottom as you see titles. I wish they'd done more of that, especially on mobile. We know that on mobile, people don't listen to the movies as much. They don't listen to video nearly as much, especially if they're on a train, or if they're watching a movie, right? They're doing something else. Captioning it would be helpful. Okay, we're not going to go watch the whole thing, but you can see very friendly, very sciencey, but very people-y, which is great. We go down, here's the benefits, and I'm, again, so surprised. This is all farther down the page. I'm not sure why they couldn't have squeezed it a little bit and lifted it up. It's an interesting design decision. It's an interesting process decision. Good listings for benefits, classically the icons you get on the Noun project, cycle to work, all this good stuff. And then to our laboratories. And we have 2 more videos of people doing actual work. I'll put more of the videos. Okay. And that's the page. So really, until we get to benefits, you're talking what we say, 26 words? This is a thin page. I think that needs a little bit more love. I think it needs a little bit more explaining. You're making interesting brand claims at the beginning on the corporate site. They're not being paid off here. But let's take a look at a job. And I think in this case, because of the way they share my screen, I'm going to look at the research scientist molecular dynamics job, and it will open a new tab. So rather than do that, I'll just put the tab right here. Okay, here we are. So workable ATS. Could you have wrapped this or embedded this into a different template? Sure, possibly. Yes, more than likely. Not really here to judge that, especially since so little content is on the career site. You need to find a way to tell people why. You really need a way to engage people. And here they've done a pretty decent job. Of all the job posts in pharma I've seen, this one's pretty solid. This was actually notably good. So we start with about us, and there's your basic boilerplate. You could have truncated a little bit. You could have gone shorter, but it's a research scientist job. So you want to explain what the research is. You want to explain what the company's doing. The role. We have recently embarked on an exciting new journey to build a physics-based predictive science platform. Okay, they're setting some scope. They're setting the stage to say, this is the stuff we're achieving. This is indicating that you will not be locked in a closet in a lab somewhere and doing stuff with mice or whatever, or doing stuff with the pipettes and, focusing in your tiny little part of the world. This shows scope and impact. You're doing something meaningful. We're growing, we're changing, you're going to be a part of that. We're seeking a research scientist with expertise in quantum mechanics. Okay, the we're seeking thing is always a bugbear for me. That's assumed. That's why you have this job posting. You don't have to say it. It's right there. Everyone knows that's why it exists. It's a hybrid job. And then here is where I think they do some really nice work. You will have the opportunity to apply state-of-the-art machine learning techniques to quantum chemistry and molecular dynamics data sets. It's a mouthful, but if I understood what half of that meant, I'd be very interested. This is doing a good job, not using a job posting to say, this is what you need. They're talking about this is what you get to do. They're starting on the right foot, meaning you want this job because, not you're allowed to apply if you have. Most job postings lean into that requirements way too hard and way too early. I get that they're trying to filter out people who aren't qualified, and there's some value to that, but no one's going to click on a job called Research Scientist, Molecular Dynamics, Quantum Mechanics, who thinks mechanics means car fixing, right? Right? These people are going to, okay, I get it. This is not, hey, I got a GED and let's rock and roll. Clearly, biochemistry, PhD level biochemistry, computational science, all that stuff is likely in play. You don't have to push the requirements that far up, especially in biotech, especially when the titles are so complicated. So lean into, instead, why choose us? And here they're talking about, hey, you're going to get to do these things. You're going to collaborate with drug designers. You're going to seek out new developments. So a lot of development, a lot of innovative thinking, a lot of impact, communicate with your work in written and oral presentations internally at conferences and scientific publications. Now here's a good one. Let's talk about this for a second. What's everybody's least favorite and most common bullet on a job posting? Must have excellent written and oral skills. Oral skills, horrible. Again, stop doing that. But again, it's generic. What does that mean? Written skills? You mean, am I writing a novel or a haiku? What do you mean? Oh, you need someone who can communicate effectively via Slack or email and or write research papers. That's more clear. That's way more useful than the generic stuff. Here they flipped around even further and said, it's not that you have to have these skill sets. It's you get to use these skill sets to do these things. I love this kind of bullet writing. I've been a proponent of talking about what is the skill, how do you apply it, what is the benefit. That is how we should be writing our bullet points. Not you must have, not you should have, not it's nice to have. It's about you're going to need these skill sets to do these things to achieve these results. And when you put those all together, suddenly the skill set isn't just a checkbox. You understand why you need that skill set. Why do I need a PhD? Because I said so. Oh, why do I need to communicate my work? Oh, because you're actually going to go on stage and you're going to go to conferences and you're going to publish your stuff in scientific papers and get a little famous. Oh, that's cool. I want to do that. See what they're doing? They're leveraging those requirements to suddenly turn it less about the company and more about the opportunity to the candidate. Love this kind of thing. Is it subtle? I guess, in that it's buried halfway through a job posting for a particular job. I bet if I looked at other places on their other jobs, this sort of thinking would be prominent. I mean, just even the thinking to say you'll have the opportunity as the first set of bullets, that is a big shift. It doesn't feel like it, but trust me, if you're reading this, I've got a lot more chance as I skim this content, as I go, okay, what's this job all about? To start to understand why I should want to be involved before you hit me with the hammer of you must have these things. That is way, way different than you see most job postings, even in pharma, even in biotech, way different. I'm lukewarm on the difference between essential skills and desirable skills. And I think it's smart that we're throwing in benefits here. You probably could have spelled it out more, but I love that you're elevating me. You'll have an opportunity to do this thing here. That is, especially if you've got a career site that's relatively thin, if the job is going to be the first impression anybody makes on your company, give them a good impression. Right? The statistics, the data will tell you what percentage of your people, of your applicants are coming in through a job board. They didn't see your career site. They went straight to the job posting. So you have to have enough information there. So if they do skip the career site, and even if they did in this page, they're not skipping too much, they understand why they should engage. So Exscientia, excellent job on bringing that information up in the job postings, leveraging a position where you are probably seeing and engaging the most applicants. So doing a great job there. Place you could be better, more content on the career site. I know that's always easier said than done. I know how hard it is to get more content on a career site and getting all the approvals and stuff, but you need to tell more of that story. You're already telling on the corporate side, bring it over a bit. You can dupe it, you can copy it and rewrite it, whatever it is. What's the story you're trying to tell? Because right now, the only story I can see is that people like coffee. And if I dig, they're also going to do some science. And that's not the story I think that's going to serve you. So minor adjustments, minor tweaks, but you could do it. You could have a stronger career site very quickly. All right. That is the end of this little presentation. Thanks so much for being here. If you've got an idea of another company I should look at, holler at me on LinkedIn, on email, wherever you want to find me. Just let me know of a company I should do a breakdown of. Obviously, I'm starting to do a lot of these. So if you like this kind of work, check out the YouTube channel where I've got all of these backed up and stored so you can watch them to your heart's content. And finally, if you're in biotech, check out biotechrecruiting.email for that free short newsletter. Okay, that's all I had. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.